Hey there, Eurus here, and welcome to Community Life. Here we talk with amazing humans from the community world about their life journeys and learn from each other. Today we have a conversation with Catherine Hackney, an experienced online community consultant, backpacker, hiker, climber, late show fan, hopefully, and great friend. So, hello, Catherine.
Hello, Yuri. Thanks for having me.
Finally, even though Zoom tried to intervene in our conversation, we are still here and still doing it via Zoom. Fun? Maybe. So, tell me, why do you have the Stonehenge as the background on your Facebook?
Yeah. Wow, when was it? 2018. I went to the UK for the first time. My dad had a conference, just a work conference he had to go to. And he's like, oh, yeah, I have to go to Reading, England. And it's kind of boring. And I was like, ooh, can I come too? Can I tag along? And we made that happen because I've always wanted to go to the UK, and he got to extend his time after the conference. And we did a few bus tours, and Stonehenge and the Cotswolds was one of those. And it was super windy, but super fun to get to see Stonehenge in person. Something I've always wanted to do since I was like in middle school. So, uh, yeah, just a really cool, inspiring, ancient place. I love old things. So it was great.
Why did it make you wanna to put it on your background on Facebook?
I guess I want to brag a little bit that I've been there.
By the way,
Show people.
was there any magic or something unusual when you were visiting Stonehenge?
Oh, you know what? Nothing crazy at Stonehenge, but we went to, I think, Avaberry Henge, a different location, a different Stonehenge of a kind. And they had us doing, I forget what they're called, but they're like the
Hmm.
metal rods, and they were acting funny. So there was some interesting stuff at different locations that they had us test and check out. So yeah.
It's always fun when I see those people handling these metal things and moving them. I'm like, you're just moving them. Why why are you telling this to us? Like, yeah, why are you moving them? Makes it so weird, like if there
Right,
are
you're
some.
doing it. Yes, like a Ouija board. But my dad did it. He held on to the things and was like, hey, they're moving. So I believe my dad. I don't know if I believe anybody else.
Did you read the book After?
The book called, the title is After.
Yeah, about near-death experiences.
Oh, I have not. No.
Okay, got it. How do you have fun?
How do I have fun? Ugh. I guess I hang out with my dog. I go to the mountains and try and see friends as much as I can. Um, yeah, that's when I think I'm the happiest.
How did you meet Emma?
Oh, Emma, my puppy, my 6-year-old puppy. She, well, as dogs do, rescue us from their shelters. And I walked into, I think, the Platte Canyon, oh gosh, Humane Society in Colorado. And she was the only dog not barking in the shelter. And she was just sitting there and looking so sad and cute at the very front of her caged in little area. And she was just the most beautiful dog I've ever seen. So uh, I knew very immediately that she had to be my dog. And there was a whole like traumatic, stressful ordeal of getting her because she wasn't yet spayed. She had to be spayed before she could be adopted. And they were like, we can't guarantee that you will get to adopt this dog. You just have to come back at the right time.
Wow.
So they freaked me out, and I was calling like every day, checking in on my dog. And yeah, I made it happen though. I wanted her and I got her. So thank goodness. But I was so afraid I wouldn't. And she is the best companion. We work perfectly together.
For how long did you wait her?
uh, like before I was able to adopt her, it
Yeah.
was about a week. So it
Oh,
was
okay.
not too long, but it
Yeah.
was just, I was so set on getting this dog. And when they said they couldn't guarantee it, or I couldn't like put a deposit down beforehand or go ahead and adopt her before they had spayed her, they just wouldn't let me. So I was just stressed out. It felt like a month, but it was really only like a week.
It's so weird. I can imagine, that's like this person like, I'm not sure that you are a good match for this dog. Let me check you. Let me like challenge you. If you will come
Oh,
back every day for like 3 times a day, maybe you can
right?
get it. So was it like that?
Ah, it was a serious test. It sure
Wow.
did feel like that. They definitely had those one of those intense questionnaires where you had to prove you could take care of the dog very well. So I appreciate that. That was good, and it all worked out, so it's okay. But that was 5 years ago. So I adopted her when she was 1 year old.
Why is she your perfect match?
I say that Emma is the cat of dogs, and I'm
Cat.
truly a cat person at heart. But I know I'm not supposed to talk work just for like a sentence. 7.5 years ago, when I started working from home full time, I realized I was never going outside. I like was not leaving my house every day, and that was not good. So I knew I needed a dog that I had to take on walks. So uh, it's perfect that I got the dog. She gets me outside, keeps me active, and yet she is very shy and a quiet, very calm dog,
Hmm.
which I'm a pretty quiet at home person most of the time. So, like, it works out that our energy levels are just a good match.
Got it. So let's start from the beginning. Tell me about your parents. Who are they?
Joe and Laura, my parents, gosh, they're like some of my best friends now at this point. I was a angsty, grumpy teenager, but then once I got into probably my second year of university, it was like, oh, I really like my parents. They know stuff. They can help me do stuff. And even just see, it was yesterday. My dad was at my house helping me to install blinds.
Hmm.
My dad had gone to college for architectural engineering, so he's worked on a lot of like buildings and um, in the past when he was still in that kind of industry, he did a lot of like house stuff. He knows how a lot of things work, which is the best knowledge to have when I'm a homeowner. So my dad comes over and he's my handyman in a way and passing on his knowledge. So I also learned how to tighten a sink faucet over the weekend. He helped me with that. So uh yeah, my parents are awesome. I'm like perfectly half and half my mom and my dad. um so my mom really likes to bake and cook, and of the three kids in my family, I'm the only one who really is like, Mom, I want your cookbooks. When you're gone, when that happens, I want the cookbook and the good kitchen stuff. And she's like, yeah, your siblings don't care about it, so sure, you can have it all. So, one Mother's Day, she taught me how to make bread. The whole kneading process and feeling that it has to feel right. So yeah, I definitely learned different stuff from both of my parents, and honestly love spending time with them nowadays. They're great people to have in my life, but yeah, I couldn't move too far away. They're about a half hour away at this point. They're both retired right now, so anytime I go on vacation, Emma gets to go hang out with my parents, and she loves it. And they do have a cat that my dog gets along with very well.
How did you understand? How did you switch from this being this angsty teenager to kind of like, oh, my parents are pretty cool?
Yeah, that's I guess an interesting story. I've not told it in quite a while. I used to tell lots of people. So when I was 15, I was diagnosed with Graves' disease. That is a enlarged thyroid gland. So literally my hormones were very out of whack, not even just for a teenager
Mm.
going through puberty and everything, but I had too big of a thyroid gland, and that caused things kind of like overheating, and I would sort of black out sometimes when I would get too hot, and it caused depression and just the craziest mood
Mm.
swings you've ever encountered. My parents would tell me what I would say, like back to me, and I'd be like, nah, it wasn't like I didn't. They're like, you would go from laughing to crying to mad in
Mm.
5 minutes. And they're like, that seemed a little bit extra for a teenager, even. So my mom took me to a doctor, got that figured out and diagnosed. tried a few different things to help fix it, but around Christmas time, during winter vacation from school, we ended up doing uh, iodine radiation to just kill off my thyroid so
Mm.
that I would no longer have to deal with that, wouldn't have the hormone imbalance. And now I'm on a synthetic thyroid hormone for the rest of my life to balance me out. And my goodness, once we figured out like the right dose of everything, and that took a few years. I was like 18, about, I would say, by the time we got all that done and found the right dosage. And then I was just like, oh, life's not that bad. I'm actually kind of happy. And it was different, right? So it was definitely, there was a medical piece to it, but a little bit, of course, I was just a teenager and that happens. And like your parents know nothing when you're young. And I felt like I was learning everything and it was more than they knew, but it was just different stuff than what they know. They have a lot of good experiences. And especially when I moved out of the home, I figured out how much their experience with cooking and, you know, home maintenance was
Yeah.
actually really helpful.
How did they cope with your mood changes?
Oh, how well, not super well at first, they
You're
I feel
grounded.
like, wait, yeah. See, my parents didn't believe in grounding because it thought it was more of a punishment to them
Ah,
so that I had to stay home. But yeah, I feel like there were a year or two where we kind of just kept distance. Like I just wasn't very close to my parents. We didn't hang out or talk a lot. Um, and I think it very much frustrated my mom. My dad was very much on the side of, oh, she's just a teenager. She'll get over it. It'll pass. And I think my mom definitely had some breaking points of, you're a little too much. This is too far. Let's go get you checked out. Maybe there is something going on that we can fix and make it better. And my mom was right. So I'm very glad that she thought of that and specifically on purpose went and was talking about it with my doctor at the time. And we got everything figured out. So it was hard. We were definitely not friends from like 14, 15, around those years was tough. I wasn't very close with my parents. I think there were even times where I could be so mean and like snippy back as just a teenage girl that I know there's a few instances where I made my dad cry. I
wow,
probably made my
wow.
mom cry too, but she just didn't admit to it. But my mom would tell me, like, you made your dad cry. Like, you need to go, yeah, we would. And then they would say things, and I would cry very easily. We were a very emotional family for a while. And yeah, then now that we figured that all out, it prompted also my siblings to test their thyroid and my dad and other people in my family to check that out. And we also found my brother had an imbalance. So,
Mm.
able to just kind of actually have a solution for some of like, especially depression, having a reason for why you feel a certain way, determining that for us, there was a hormonal imbalance that we can do something about. So, yeah, it
And
was crazy.
I feel like, mothers are usually this like more sensitive to things. And father's like, yeah, I will just grow it'll just grow it up and like
Right.
whatever. It'll
It's
go on and
normal.
like, no, yeah, it's okay. And mother's like, maybe not. Maybe we should see a doctor or something like that. And I feel like it's usually a good decision.
It
So
is.
tell me a backstory of a day drinking with dad.
Did I post about day drinking with my dad? Oh gosh, I probably did. Um, yeah, I definitely said like I'm half and half of my parents. I like the coolest parts of both of them, I hope. Um, but my dad and I have more in common of like the same movies and books and stuff that we like. Actually, my dad got me into like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and Tolkien and that kind of, like, he read me The Hobbit a few times throughout childhood, and that was really awesome for me. So like as I got older and they were like, okay, you're now 21, we can hang out and drink. Like you don't have to be our kid anymore. We can just hang out and have fun. And especially during COVID, probably. I would go and hang out with my parents quite a bit because they are close by. And that was kind of our bubble. Uh, to at least be able to see them in person was great because I was living alone and it kept me less isolated. So we definitely drank a good amount during COVID. And uh, a lot of that would be like my dad would, we would be like, let's go put on Lord of the Rings. Let's go watch a sci-fi movie or go watch Star Wars. And my mom's not really into that kind of stuff. So she would go read in another room or something. And my dad would just keep drinking and watching movies and talking about just all the crazy stuff. But yeah, he's just a fun person to be around. My dad's really outgoing and likes everybody, kind of a thing. So, and he's very fast to laugh. I think, but now as adults, as me as an adult, we get each other's sense of humor. So there are times when my
Finally.
mom, yes, right. We finally get each other really well. My mom will hang out and be part of it sometimes, but sometimes she'll go and it's like, cool, I get some, me and dad time. And that's awesome as an adult woman to have that kind of relationship with my dad and be able to hang out with him. And it's a lot of fun and we get each other. Because I have so many friends that don't have that with their father. They may have it with their mom,
Yeah.
but yeah, my dad's just really easy to hang out with. And he's really funny when he's drunk.
I can imagine your mom telling like, okay, so you kids have fun. I'll go read my book.
Yes. Yes, my mom would definitely say, like, oh, I felt at times like I have four children, not just three and a husband.
Exactly, exactly. That's how it works. And
Right.
what were you usually talking about?
With my dad, oh my gosh, we talk about everything. I guess like stuff you would talk about with your friends. We don't get too personal or too emotional these days. There's definitely topics that are kind of off limits in my family,
Hmm.
which is funny. Like um there is still, still kind of that barrier of like, oh, we don't talk about like too much of my relationships or, too much personal stuff at this point in life. But I like to ask them about like how my parents met, what it was like when they were in college, and um, kind of hearing the different versions from my mom and my dad is funny.
Are they
Slightly.
really different?
Just slightly, right? They just have, or they just pull out different details, right? Where
Hmm.
my dad loves his funny stories of the like one time my mom made food that was terrible because my mom is such a good cook. And he would just kind of loves to tell the times where she screwed up. It's like, Dad, be nice. She's like, she cooks for you every day. She's great. We all know she's the best cook in the family, but you have to point out, oh, that one time in college and you made meatloaf and it was disgusting. So, the sharing stories like that, a lot of dad jokes. My dad likes to tell me a lot of dad jokes and the same jokes over and over for my whole life. So that's okay. I feel like a lot of our conversations kind of are very cyclical, very similar, but they're still a lot of fun.
What is your most vivid childhood memory of Casa Bonita?
Oh no. Casa Bonita is the best place on earth. If you have not seen this, gosh, what's it called? The South Park episode about Casa Bonita, you have to watch it. It is spot on accurate. Have you seen it, Yuri?
Yeah, I
Like South
definitely
Park?
saw it. I need to
Yes.
rewatch it because I don't remember all the details, but I remember that Cartman was very happy there.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It is. It's like Disneyland, but in a strip mall in Colorado. It's crazy. When I was a kid, we used to go there often for like my birthday. It would be where I would take some friends because it is a Mexican restaurant that you have to like go through this long winding line to get in, and you must order an entree. And at the time when I was a kid, it was the worst food. It made you like ill practically. So we always had to get food to get in. But once you're in, it was unlimited sopapillas. So we mostly just ate sopapillas and not our meals. And there's a puppet show. There's an indoor waterfall with cliff divers and a cave you walk through, an arcade, all sorts of stuff. So I think when I was about 3 or 4, a vivid memory that I still have and still kind of messes me up is this is one of those things of like my relationship with my dad. Uh, my dad thought it was very funny that Casa Bonita had these skit shows. They happened like every 15 minutes. And in one of them, there was a gorilla, like a guy dressed as a gorilla. And it was a skit about like the gorilla escaping the zookeeper and like getting a woman and like taking her away. And it was just so goofy and interesting. But the gorilla would come out and run through the tables and through the restaurant. And sometimes it would stop and like, do gorilla things. Um, so when I was like 3, my dad took me, was holding me, like holding me up and held me out to the gorilla. And it definitely like knew its job and it came up and like growled in my face or whatever. I am still afraid of monkeys, of large monkeys. Apparently, I was silently screaming. I had my mouth wide open and my eyes wide open, but no sound was coming out. And I am still a little scarred about that. And we went to Casa Bonita recently because it just reopened not long ago. And they still have the gorilla show. And it literally came by our table, and I was just looking down, looking away, not looking at the gorilla. And of course, I was with my parents, and my dad had to be like, "She loves you. You're her favorite." So it like hung out longer, and I had to look at it and like kind of interact. And I was just like, "It's fine. It's fine."
And I can imagine this
Yeah.
person in the group. Hey, I remember you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's crazy. It's a wild place, but the endless sopapillas and the very scary gorilla is what I remember, but also truly some of like the happiest times in childhood going there. Just like I just would leave the room when the gorilla would come. I started to figure that out, and then it was okay.
Why do you love South Park?
Why do I love South Park? South Park is like the best satire cartoon. I mean, I feel like it was the first satire cartoon in that kind of way. It's so intelligently done in such a most ridiculous, goofy way through this super simple cartoon. I don't watch it all the time, or gosh, it might still even be. I think they create episodes every once in a while now. It's not as true seasons necessarily, but yeah, I've known South Park, the show, for most of my life, and it's just yeah, such intelligent humor in a way. If you pay attention, the creators are some really interesting people to be doing what they're doing with it, and like nobody and nothing is safe. They make fun of everything, and it's yeah, it's hilarious.
And it's super real, like well, so basically from my perspective, they talk about the real things with the humor. So they kind of highlight it. And, for me personally, I just laugh sometimes when I understand how things are really shitty, but they are put it in the such fun way that you just kind of crying through laughing.
Right. Yes, it helps you get through some kind of not fun times or topics because they do it in such a way. You're right.
I still have it on my bookmarks on my Google Chrome. So if I share my screen with my team or whatever, they always see South Park bookmark, and they're like, "Oh,
That's
I
great.
also I also like South Park." So it's like
I
on
love it.
on my
It's so
bookmarks.
global. That's great.
Yeah. Why do you miss Europe?
Oh goodness. I've only been to Europe twice. So the UK that I talked about was Stonehenge, but I did a summer school program in Germany, and then my family did come over and we traveled around a few other countries for a few weeks, and I miss Europe because especially when I was in Germany and it was during school before my family came over, I fit in so well. Like there are times where I feel like I don't really fit in the US that
Hmm.
well. I'm not really this a personality that you would think of your typical American or whatever that might be. Um, Usually, I hope, but in Germany, it was just so eye-opening of an experience. The people were amazing, the language is amazing, the food was great, and yeah, I didn't find anybody I really didn't get along with who was from Europe. Uh, it was like the best time of my life. And I'm so sad that it's been like 14 years or something since I've been to Germany and I need to go back because I'm like, those are my people. That's where I belong. Of course, we have some German heritage, so it just feels right. But I'm like, man, that Austria as well. And we visited Czech and yeah, just super cool people. Like, definitely more of a vibe that I enjoy and like day to day than sometimes being in the USA.
Do you speak German?
Only a little bit, and honestly, better when I'm drunk. So, because I think we drank every day in Germany, especially after school, but that's then when we were like hanging out with more locals and other students. So I spoke most of it while I was drinking. So if I drink now, I speak better German than when I'm sober. It's that learning connection thing, but I also haven't really practiced it in a lot of years. I know you're really big on Duolingo. I've tried to kind of just keep on German for Duolingo because it's fun. I'm not as good at keeping up with it as you are though. So I
Yeah.
think 100-day streak or something, and then I like fell off. It's like, all
But
right.
yeah, it's as you've told, it's also because of fun. Because when you're really having fun with it, so yeah, it's funny. Like it takes 5 minutes. Why not? I can do this. Like. And
Yeah.
I'm curious. Okay, so tell me one of your stories that you had after school after drinking.
Oh gosh. Well, man, I was actually 20 going to Germany. So in the US, you can drink at 21. I was toward the end of my college years and in Europe, and I could drink there. And that was pretty crazy. So we often went crazy. And I also realized there is no closing time at German bars or clubs. If people are around and still buying drinks, they stay open. So I swear we were still at like a club one day until 7 a.m. and classes were at 8 a.m. And well, the place had a stripper pole. There was some, fun just swinging around with that. And I know I lost my sweater and made like best friends with a few other students that night. And that was early on in the trip, like in the first week. It was just crazy and a lot of fun. And I was just running on adrenaline that whole time, practically. Because as soon as like my family came over to Europe and I was no longer in school, I crashed and I like immediately got sick. But oh, it was so worth the like up all night dancing and meeting people. And yeah, I remember I lost my sweater at that one club and we tried to go back and get it and I did not get it. But man,
It happens usually in Germany in bars. So that's
right. There's a lot of fuzzy moments. I will say the doner kebab is great, which is Turkish food brought over, but like German street food now, and it is the best food I've ever had. And that's terrible, but yeah. Also, doner kebabs when you are drunk are amazing.
I feel like they are doing different. So they are like normal, then medium, and then spicy. So what type do you prefer?
Oh, I probably just the like normal mild version, but I know I had different versions while I was there. I think I even had like a Chinese food version. They had some crazy varieties at different places, and it was like, oh, I think I just like the normal basic the best. Yeah.
What did teachers tell you when you went to school that day?
Nothing. They had no idea. Everything was great. I was a straight A student, man. It was fine.
I'm curious, how did you switch? How did you switch out of hanging out till 7 a.m. and going to school at 8 a.m. and being still this straight A student? How do you do that?
Honestly, there, because I just was so happy and excited about where I was at, that it was like, oh yeah, we're just hanging out with friends. Okay, now I get to go to class with friends. And especially, I think the morning class was German language. We were diving more into German language and German culture. And German language was just so much fun for me. And I did get a bit of a big head because apparently at the time I was very good at pronouncing German words. comparatively to some others. And kind of sadly, the professor would kind of pick on me and be like, Catherine, say 12 again. I'm like, okay, I'll say it for the class. Yeah, I felt like it was just, I loved it. It was all fun. It was all a party. Even at class, I was super happy. So I didn't have to do too much switching. Man, I was 20 and somehow I got away with no sleep.
How often do you meet with your best friends for tea?
Oh, goodness. We've only done high tea one time, unfortunately. I would love to make that like an annual, or if we could afford it, a monthly thing. It is so much fun. So we've done that once at the Brown Palace in downtown Denver. Um, but high tea or going to tea is so much fun, just getting out and getting dressed up with your friends. But yeah, we need to make it more of a consistent thing.
Who initiated this meeting?
This meeting? Which meeting?
Yeah, I mean like that for tea with your friends.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it was me. The tea. Yes, I probably was like, hey, we should make this happen. So I knew with my friends, we'd been talking about it for years, honestly, already. And I was like, I'm going to go online. We're making reservations, and whoever can come, come. So I did.
I feel like just after we finish this conversation, you know what to do.
Yes.
Okay, so who is your best friend?
Oh man, that's tough. As you get, older, I feel like there's fewer best friends in a way that are like individuals that stand out. Um, Honestly, I'm too obsessed with my dog. So like my dog is my best friend. She makes me feel good every day. My dad is one of my really good friends at this point in life. And my partner, my boyfriend at this time, we're really good friends, which makes the relationship really good. Like just hanging out and being able to have somebody you can talk about truly anything and not having any of those like family barriers as well. That that's the kind of friendship I really appreciate.
I kind of know what was first, reading Lord of the Rings or watching it, because you already told the story. Still, what did you like more, the book or the movie?
Oh, the books. The Hobbit book and the Lord of the Rings. So much better. I mean, I'm obsessed and I love the Lord of the Rings movies, and I am a fan, so I am obligated to like the Hobbit movies, unfortunately. But yeah, they extended it way too much, man. Could have been one good movie, but yeah, the books are amazing. If they're a little slow, it takes a little time to get through them, but it's Tolkien was an amazing author, wrote some really interesting stuff. Um, yeah, I was an English literature major in college, and Tolkien was pretty much why I really liked his writing and I wanted to read more, and specifically British literature. So that's what I focused my studies on.
I feel like Lord of the Rings was the biggest book I've ever read, because I feel like I don't remember, but I feel like it was huge. So I'm curious, how long did it take for you to read all the Lord of the Rings?
Oh, yeah. Well, because, right, you can get like each individual, the three books, or one with all of them. And it is, I don't even know, 1,500 pages or something, all three of the books. Um, I think when I truly sat down and read them through myself, which did happen as an adult for really the first time, I'd read pieces and I'd had the books read to me, but it took about 3 months for me to get through them. I am a bit of a slow reader. I love reading, but I take my time with it. So it took a few months.
Who is your favorite character?
Oh, that's hard. I think it changes at different times of my life. It's different people. Uh, I really like Gandalf. Gandalf is like the best, but right, he's the sage that saves the day over and over again. And yeah, I won't say too much because it's plotline, but everybody should know Lord of the Rings by now. I mean, heck. But yeah, Gandalf's a really just wise person. You just want to have that kind of person in your life.
It's fun. I remember this YouTube video, or I guess it was YouTube video back then, when the person dressed as Gandalf or riding a skateboard on the road, "You shall not pass," and then cars are behind them like honking, and then like, "You shall not pass." So yeah, I totally
Yes.
get it. So tell me a backstory of a goat farm virtual meeting.
What farm?
Goat.
Hmm. I'm not sure. Is there
It
like
was it was
more?
a welcome session during virtual conference when you meet goats, and it was a goat
Oh,
farm virtual meeting.
yes. Okay. Wow. I don't even, yeah, I barely remember that. Okay. Um, so what is coming to mind is one thing that was specifically during COVID, and there were virtual meetings at that point, and one organization like had a nonprofit, like a animal rescue farm on to for like half of the meeting. It was like just animals in the background, and they would talk about them and educate us about their nonprofit farm, their rescue farm for animals. And they had all sorts of stuff on there. And I know that that was done kind of a lot during COVID, but that was the one very specific one that like I had to go and like donate to them right after the call because I loved it so much. And it was just, I mean, it was a really interesting experience. And yeah, they just how they talked about it and the animals we saw and the interaction there, especially during a time like COVID, was just, yeah, it was super fun. So I don't know if that's really what you're asking, but that is what I can think of. I might be
It's interesting.
forgetting.
When I saw your post, it was like a photo of goat sitting there, and I thought that goat gives a webinar or a lecture or something like that. I was curious, like, what did a goat share? And because
Oh,
it was so
okay.
unusual, but yeah, most
Yeah,
likely nothing. Most likely it was just chewing some grass or whatever, and
right.
yeah, just wisely listening to people and yeah, like humans, whatever. So, what do
Yeah.
you like about climbing?
Oh my goodness. With rock climbing, I have never been an athletic person. I've never played team sports or anything like that. I just didn't do it when I was a kid for some reason. I honestly don't really know why. But as an adult, kind of just finding my thing, finding an activity, because I also just don't enjoy working out. So I was like, all right, as I'm getting older, I need to find something that I really love to do because that'll be my physical thing that'll keep me active, be my exercise, and I don't have to do it otherwise. It's not really true anymore, but rock climbing just really kind of showed me how much I can do and how good I can be at something if I want to be and if I try. Uh, was lucky to meet some very like specific people rock climbing early on who kind of pushed me to go outside, go outdoor climbing and lead climbing. And my goodness, a few years earlier, I would have been like, oh no, like that's too scary. That's too dangerous. Like I can't do that. But it kind of really got me out of a shell in a certain way to be like, I can totally do this. I can learn the safety. I can trust my belay partner and we can, do this and have fun and do an activity. And yeah, for like 6 years, I had a consistent climbing partner. We would go to the gym and outside, and it was like the best. We've kind of fallen off now. COVID made it hard. You lose so much of your progress. So when we couldn't
Yeah.
climb for like 6 months at least, 6 months to a year or something, it was like, oh, I lost all my lead climbing skills, but we did go. I went on Saturday. So we're still doing it sometimes. But yeah, gosh, it broke me out of my shell in ways that I never thought I was brave enough to do physically, right?
When you are climbing a rock, what are you thinking about?
Oh, you're only thinking about that rock. That is all. And I love it for that too. Honestly, it is a really good stress reliever in the way that it forces everything else out of your mind, right? There's a lot of workouts or activities you can do like that. These days, it is a lot more hiking. but I can still, I can still think while I'm hiking. When you
Yeah.
are rock climbing, you are like worried about potentially falling, or if you're not worried, you're thinking ahead about your next move and looking at the rock and where are you going to go next. So you have to be so focused and in the moment. That's what you have to pay attention.
And what do you dislike about rock climbing?
I just like when I bang my knees and my elbows. I still get a little scraped up like a kid. And it just is like, oh, nowadays I scar. I don't really heal like I did when I was a kid. So the little bangs and bruises, and I'm like, man, I thought I was more coordinated than that, but it's okay. It's still fun.
How do you relax?
Oh, bottle of wine, a good movie. I'm definitely more of a movie person than a TV person. Uh, like comforting movies, honestly, like Lord of the Rings or like some of the old Disney movies. If I'm really kind of like high strung and stressed, I'll go watch Sleeping Beauty. And it makes me so happy, especially with a glass of wine. That's always great. If I can hang out with people, I know, especially these days, we're a little more spread out. So it takes more planning to see friends more regularly. But yeah, being home alone with my old Disney movies is also very great.
What was the latest movies that you've seen?
Netflix just put out Back to the Future. So I just watched Back to the Future on Netflix like 2 nights ago. I watched the first one and I'm going to go and watch the second and third soon because I love those movies.
Yeah, it's interesting. By the way, I remember this one of the moments in this movie when they were, I feel like in the beginning, I don't remember what exactly part of it was, but in the beginning they were standing in two cars, and then when it was a green light, they started like running, who is the first, and then one car crashed. And I remember that after like seeing a future or what happened, I don't exactly remember, but this person like kind of pulled back, so they are not starting riding both forward, but this person riding back. And it influenced me so much that nowadays when I drive and I see some uh, people that just pisses me off, like, or they're too slow or they're too crazy or I don't know what. Usually I was mad, I was like angry and like trying to do something. But then like I'm just slowing down. Okay, just go. Just go. So I'm
Good. Yeah.
curious, was there a moment in Back to the Future that something that influenced your life?
Oh, goodness.
Except for sneakers that you don't have to, like, yeah, auto closing sneakers.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, honestly, I mean, a big piece of it is Marty McFly helping his dad gain confidence so that he can meet his mom and still end up together, and just like how his dad character when he's a teenager gets the confidence to stand up for the woman he loves. Like some of that's super cool. And that you can gain your own confidence, and it's only your own self holding you back in a way, that everybody has that power, but it's your own fear that kind of holds you back from doing things that you would want to do. So that's a really good lesson from that movie that honestly when I watched it when I was younger I didn't get so much, and now I'm like, oh,
Oh,
it's more
that's what they
meaningful.
meant. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
If you were to travel in time, where would you go?
Ooh. Gosh, I definitely don't think I fit in this century either. So I I it is hard. Maybe the 1920s. I really like the clothes and the hats and everything like that. I have a 1920s hat at home that I just think is adorable and a lot of fun to wear, but I have nowhere to go and wear it. So it'd be cool to go back to like the flapper days and go dancing.
Did you see the movie Midnight in Paris?
I did with Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson, yes.
Yeah, yeah, because it was exactly about the coming back, and like when
Yeah.
people like I don't fit in this century, I would go back, etc. And I I can imagine how he was as his character, how he was happy to meet Hemingway and a lot of writers, and like, oh, they really understand me. So,
Yeah, that actually was a really great movie because yeah, he went back and like met all these amazing authors. And I was like, oh, that's my dream.
who would you like to meet?
I would really like to meet, if I could, J.R.R. Tolkien, right? Talk to him about the books. I know Tolkien and C.S. Lewis had a big friendship in Oxford, and they used to walk along the Sherwell River. And that's a place that my dad and I visited when we were in the UK as well. We went to Oxford, and actually, at the time, my dad's company was named Sherwell after
Hmm.
that river where they would walk and talk about what they were writing. So to like be part of one of those conversations as they walk along the rivers talking about their fantasy stories, yeah, that would be amazing.
What is one question you would ask him?
Well, when you're an author, people make a lot of speculation about what you're writing about, like what's the meaning behind what you're writing. So I would ask, what was some of his inspiration? Why did he write, The Hobbits the way he did and the story? And, was it really from his experience in World War I and fighting Germans and they were the bad guys, or what else was there to it to inspire that kind of a story and such a big epic, right? Because I don't want it to be as simple as, oh yeah, he went to a war and then he wrote about a war. Because there's so much more in Lord of the Rings that I feel like there's so much more he could have said that we maybe just don't know.
He kind of let it to for people to think about it. So
Yes.
I have this previous guest's question, which is really fun. For me, it's really fun. What is
Okay.
one question during the conversation you wanted to ask Yuri?
Oh, I so want you to like do this with yourself or like switch places with somebody. You should be a guest on this show so that you can talk about yourself too. So I love that. Oh my gosh. I mean, oh, there's a lot. I did look at some of your social media when you friended me. I want to know about like your family. How did you meet? I think your wife. You have a wife, and about your kids, and kind of about where you live now and where you've lived in the past, and like all of that. But it's really hard to narrow it down to just one. If Will you answer one of them now?
It's guest's question, but yeah, like it's it it's a fun story how I met my wife because we met in the
Yes.
university and we were studying together. And the fun thing that we kind of noticed each other on the second course, so we didn't even know that we exist on the first course, even though we were learning in one group. So we were like, I don't know this person. Who the hell is this person? And then on the second course, I was like, it's not bad. Maybe we should hang out. So it's kind of fun. Yeah, it's
Nice.
and
Yeah, that's
still,
awesome.
like this year we are celebrating our 14th anniversary so far.
Yay.
So
That's awesome.
we are yeah. But yeah, there are so many backstories, there are so many questions to answer. And yeah, if you ever like to ask me those questions, just do it. Just tell me like, hey Yuri, I have some questions for you. Let's switch seats. We can do this.
Yeah.
By the way, it's a little bit of spoiler, but I'm thinking about doing this crazy episode where Yuri asks Yuri. But
Yes.
I feel like it's the hardest, to have this conversation with yourself,
Yeah.
because definitely I can trick myself. I mean,
Right.
like ask good questions, etc. But
Right. You get to
the
pick the
hardest
questions.
the
Yeah.
hardest part is to ask real questions, not good questions, but like real questions, something that nobody asked me before, something I would like to share, or something that people wanted to ask but usually afraid to ask, because no one will ask deep questions like on general coffee chat, or like you have
Right.
to kind of like overgo some kind of relationships or whatever to ask those questions. But it would be fun. It would be fun. And if you ever like to ask me any questions, we can do this. We can do this. And
Awesome. You should
you
do
know,
it. Yeah.
I wish to have the sky's the limit to our conversation, but time is the limit. So let's jump to the rapid fire questions. So, Road trip or backpacking?
Road trip.
Homemade hot chocolate or German beer mixed with Sprite?
Oh, if I get to be in Germany, the German beer was Sprite, the Rattler in Germany for children.
What are your favorite color and song?
My favorite color is red. My favorite song, I think. Well, okay, so it's Africa by Toto or Africa by Weezer. They remade the song. That is a great song. It's just, it always puts me in a good mood.
If you were a superhero, what superpower would you have?
Oh, man. Um, Super knowledge. I want to know everything. I'm just so curious.
Who do you learn from? Name one person.
One person is hard, but Simon Helton, he's a name that comes to mind. He's a peer community manager, but we're in a private chat that or private Slack with a small group, and we can talk about kind of anything in that space. And I love that. So he comes to mind.
Name two people whom I should definitely reach out to and have this conversation with.
Um, Todd Nielsen, I think you probably have already, but I know he comes to mind for sure. I'll, sub in Simon Helton is one. Yeah, he's a great community manager. And Margette Hager, she's also really interesting. And Simon and Margette, I know because of community management in associations in the nonprofit world. So those are my people, and I'm always looking for more people like that.
Ask it forward. It's like pay it forward, but with questions. So ask a question a future guest will have to answer.
Who's your favorite comedian?
Is there one question that I definitely should have asked you but didn't?
I think if you didn't ask it, I somehow interjected stuff that I would have wanted to say or share. So whatever you didn't ask, I shared anyways. uh yeah, like about college. I always like talking about college and being an English major or talking about reading, and we talked a good amount about that. So yeah, you did great.
So at least for the next episode, I will know what more questions to prepare. So thank you very much for sharing it. And yeah, Catherine, super happy to get to know you better from this human side. And we had some conversation here and there at coffee chats between two water coolers, etc. But it was never like, getting to know like real you, like your story, your fun story with your dad, your fun college stories, and your hiking with your dog and like love of Lord of the Rings. So I feel like I've just come just a little closer to get to know your real human side. But also I feel like it's a huge step to get to know real you. So thank you very much for sharing it.
Yes, this is a great format. Thanks for doing it. You should
And
definitely interview yourself. I am all here for that.
it'll be crazy. We'll see. One day, I promise. But we'll see. And yeah, see you in the community world.